right. I'd like to say
Hello.
welcome
Hello,
back
Sean.
to the Sean Trey Show, and I have two really wonderful guests with me tonight. Now, can you introduce yourselves for people who don't know who you are?
Yeah, sure. My name is Bart.
I'm Baker.
And
we are Bart&Baker.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We are DJ.
And we've been starting doing music back in 2007.
Okay.
And we've been doing production from 2011.
You are Bart&Baker, and you make amazing music.
Thank you.
Now, tell me, what is your musical background? How did you get into music?
Yeah, sure. I don't know if it's an original story, but our background are very different. Because background is heavily into music, he can tell you a bit about his wonderful music family. So maybe he's going to start telling you a bit about his background.
Yes, my mother is a pianist, was a pianist and a compositor, classical compositor.
Wow.
And when I was young, I was in the middle of classical music.
Really?
So the only thing I want to get out of this world was to do other music. And it's why I like jazz a lot.
Well, he's too modest. I mean, his mother composed a few operas, and she's been used for ballet and was a wonderful piano concertist. And some of his family were drummers for jazz project. Quite avant-garde, I must say, because one of his relatives was in a project called Playback, where Bach music was made into jazz. It was pretty famous in the 60s. It was all USA. That was the first time someone was taking classical music and was adapting it for the jazz.
I have a CD by a French composer.
Talking about me,
I have a CD of a French composer who does Bach into jazz. Forgive me, the name I am not able to. My French is horrible.
Maybe is it Jacques Lussier?
It is.
Jacques Lussier.
Jacques Lussier, yeah.
It must be that because he kind of trademarked the concept, and now everybody's trying to adapt Mozart in whatever music you have. Very Japanese in a way. Japanese love cover album with any kind of new arrangements.
Right.
Talking about me, my background is absolutely not musical.
Interesting.
But I had the chance of being very much into pop music, and actually during my university studies looked after the Pet Shop Boys information service for France.
Oh, interesting.
So I was really connected to English pop music.
Okay. That's really interesting.
And actually, I think my disinterest into the Pet Shop Boys leaded me to jazz because one of the members was always talking about his jazz influence. And I was so curious to know where his music came from because he was always talking about jazz singer Noel Coward and so on, that I was very curious to know who are those people who inspired that pop band. And I finally was more into the music they were inspired by than their own music. In a way, music is a kind of cut and paste game where you meet people, they tell you what they like, then you listen to what their music, then you may... we did a project with some Caribbean artists 3 years ago because we were really into discovering the interest of French-speaking music from the Caribbean.
Interesting.
And because we had so much joy doing this project, we're now interested by exploring more French-speaking, faraway folk music.
That's really interesting.
Just because, the contact with other artists makes you blossoming some new project.
Well, this is interesting because one of the things that I recognized living in Vietnam there is still in some of the Vietnamese music a French influence. you have there are, you come to Ho Chi Minh City, and this
absolutely.
and this city has French architecture, and there's a lot of food that is inspired by French food, but you see how people would take a style and change it. They would change it and make it their own, which is extremely interesting to me.
Yeah. That's what life is all about.
Exactly, right?
Give some stones and woods to a child or baby, will make a home from it. So.
Right? Now, what is your musical genre? The style of music that you compose and produce. What is your style of music?
Yeah, sure. I mean, people know us by being Electro Swing producers. Mm-hmm. So to explain what is Electro Swing, it's a blend of... There are two kinds of Electro Swing, really. There is the Electro Swing using sample of old retro songs, which are actually songs from more than 20 years ago, because people say that vintage is something that is more than 20 years ago now. Yeah. So I would probably say that the Electro Swing track could be now a song from 20 years ago with some jazz elements. Mm-hmm. And the other style of Electro Swing would be a totally jazz recorded song with original instruments, adding beats to it.
Okay, interesting. Now,
so to sum up, you either steal sample from other people's music, or you write an original track, but you put some beats and rhythm to it. And to come back to our music, because we're not only producing Electro Swing music, I can say that we're doing pop music in a way, because what people sometimes don't understand is that jazz music, jazz vocal was the pop music from the 20s and the 30s.
Right.
So basically for me, I don't see any boundaries between a pop song and an Electro Swing track. We need good melodies. We need good rhythm. Mm-hmm. It's got to make you dance. Probably has to make you more happy than any other style of music. Because one of the things is that if you go into the book of songs from the 20s, 30s, 40s, it was either depression, Great Depression in America. It was either the war.
Yes.
So more or less, all this music was about making you happy, being cheerful.
Yes.
And that's probably why Electro Swing is a music that is supposed to entertain and make you happy. Except that even in Electro Swing, you have the dark Electro Swing, where you have mysterious mobs and gangster style music, prohibition,
That's right.
Pimps and prostitutes. So you have the dark side of it. But basically, I think people like Electro Swing for his, entertaining spirit.
Well, and it's interesting because Electro Swing is a beautiful mix of modern elements and traditional elements. You have the modern electro sound, but you also have these elements of that aren't found in the synthesizers that a lot of electronic music uses, or the digital instruments. You have these real instruments, and that are being sampled, and there's something real still about Electro Swing that I love personally, because I love the live music feel is still there.
I can add something to that. I think we made. Yeah, sorry about that.
No.
I think we made some real improvement into our production after I took some dancing jazz courses.
Interesting.
Because if you have never danced Lindy Hop or taken a dance class, you don't really know how the beats and the sequence goes in the song, because just dancing and knowing how to dance and being in the studio and to know how the beat, dancing Lindy Hop is an 8-step thing. So basically, when you're back to the studio and you know how those different dances are made, you know how to make the song grooving more.
Yeah.
And this is where the traditional, the analogic, and the digital meet, basically, because what is the use of a song if you doesn't really know how people are going to dance to it?
Right.
And every music is linked to the way people behave when they listen to it. One of the best examples for me is reggae music, whose speed and rhythm are connected to people smoking spliff.
Yeah.
Spliff. And you can make it the same for trance music or some EDM music that people listen being in a more ecstatic condition. I think basically Electro Swing has really to keep in mind that people can be able to dance to it.
That's a great point. And I think that the idea of connecting it to the dance is really powerful. My wife loves swing dancing, and that's how she found your music originally, was because she for years would go swing dancing regularly. Every week she would meet with a group here in Vietnam, and they would dance. And they loved the traditional pieces. Those were fun to dance to. But when they wanted to feel more modern, the electro swing was something that just, it was something that they could relate to more as well, because it had those EDM elements.
I'm sure if you speak to your wife, one of the swing dancers that were coming to our parties said that your music is more for Balboa dancers than Lindy Hop dancers. The difference is that Balboa is a style of dancing in jazz where the steps are quicker.
Interesting.
And the dancers are closer. And the legend behind Balboa is that it was invented in such a small island that everybody had to be so close to each other because they couldn't room enough people to the island, which is absolutely, I think, a fairy tale. But Balboa is a fast version of Lindy Hop, and it's exactly the type of speed that connect well with electro swing music.
Okay. Now that's really interesting, and I am not as familiar with the different styles of swing dancing, so I will definitely have to look into this. I do know that.
Yeah, you should ask her.
For sure. We are super looking forward to when the COVID lockdown ends, so that we can go dancing again. Right now we're in a lockdown, and we're really excited to go back out soon. Now, how has YouTube helped you? How has YouTube and Spotify and these things, how have they helped you get your music out to new people?
Yeah, well, it's a funny story because we started with a deal with Vagram Music, which is still our label, with a deal around downloadable music, the traditional downloadable file through iTunes and other websites. And then Spotify and the other website appeared, and everybody around us said, "Oh, you're gonna see, you're gonna lose so much money because those websites are not gonna generate enough revenue for you." And fortunately, it didn't really happen. I think one of the reasons why is because we've been producing so much music for the last few years that the funnel, the channel of putting new music again and again is very appreciative of the streaming website.
Yes.
They love to get new stuff all the time. This is the way it works. Yeah. And the algorithm also provide a good research query for people like us who have a lot of music online. I would say that the only thing that I don't think works very well with Spotify and YouTube is that you don't really get a lot of personal messages. On YouTube, people comment on your video, but you never really get a lot of direct messages from people. It happens more on Instagram and Facebook for us.
Yeah, and of course in this club when we
Yeah,
right?
but anyway, it's wonderful for us because, for example, we have a very big audience in America, and I think those people really discovered us through Spotify.
Yeah.
YouTube is important because, as you may know, we try to make a lot of videos. In the electro swing market, not all the artists have enough time and energy to put new videos to all their work.
Yeah.
But I think we have a very visual way to see our music, and we like to make those little stories alive by the videos. And we were so frustrated during the COVID because some of the videos we wanted to shoot were not possible to be made just because of the restriction.
Yeah.
But yeah, YouTube is wonderful. I mean, I'm personally a big fan of UK composer called Rob Dugan, that maybe you know because he made the Matrix soundtrack.
Yeah.
And he puts a lot of wonderful videos of his work, filmed into Abbey Road Studio with a classical, and all this I can access it through YouTube. And maybe Baker can tell you, he's got a lot of artists he like from the last decades, and he can access so many archives through YouTube. I think the last time was Caterina Valente, who was super famous in the 60s and 70s. She was a French-born artist with Italian blood, famous in Germany. She sang in 5 languages. She was doing the Pericomo show and all kind of show in USA. And one of her show in Olympia in Paris, which is a very famous concert hall in Paris with Michel Legrand, the French composer of The Umbrella of Cherbourg and other famous musical movies. We could find the concert that was videoed like 30 years ago on YouTube.
It's amazing.
Wonderful. It's wonderful how many. I hate YouTube advertising, as everybody knows, because when you want to watch a 1 hour concert, every 5 minutes you get an advertising that, cut the interest. But yeah, I mean, I see social network and digital as a very good thing. And because probably me and Baker, we have been always very open about sharing content. And we're not like being afraid of being stolen something, or every time a student doing a kind of college work asks us music to illustrate, we say yes instantly, because I think internet, the way it works for me, is about meeting people, sharing things, and helping each other.
I agree. And that's one...
Personally, we never had any negative experience. So I think probably we're right.
And you guys collaborate with so many people. You have so many people that you work with. I noticed that you have many different artists that are in your music that you're bringing in, and it's amazing.
It's like we could make a picture like the Yellow Submarine or Strawberry, like from the Beatles. You know that cover when you see 50 pictures around the band. I think I could not explain why. I'll give you a story. We recorded two songs with a girl 2 weeks ago. She's a burlesque artist.
Okay.
We know her for 7 years.
Okay.
We knew she wanted to make some music with us, but we still had not found out which track we could do together. And 2 months ago, I told her, you remember we had that conversation about doing that track. I wasn't sure what I could propose you. Now I've got an idea. And she was so surprised because she thought we were like a big mouth, easy talker, doing promises in parties like many people do sometimes, and we would never do something in the real. But finally we went on the studio, we did the track, and she was, we were happy because we picked her because we thought she had something that could enrich a project, because you never collaborate because you want to use someone.
Exactly.
You collaborate because you want to make one and one more than two as a result.
Yes.
So it was great, and yeah.
Usually it's because we know people, we like people, and we said we ask them, can we play with, can we do something with you? Like I can give the example of Clémentine. Do you know Clémentine?
Yes.
is a French artist, very well known in Japan. Nobody knows her in France, but she's a great star in Japan. And I used to know her career, and I said to
didn't talk about luck. I mean, he was collecting these artists who released maybe 45 albums in Japan, so pretty well-known French artists there.
Yeah.
Obviously, nobody knows her in France, because when you are big in Japan, sometimes you're not big into your own country. And we met a guy from a radio program that wanted to make an interview with us. And he was his best friend.
Really?
And we learned that she was living like 10 blocks from her home.
And it's like this we met Clémentine.
Yeah.
And a lot of...
And when she came to see his collection, she couldn't believe some guy in Paris had collected maybe 45 albums in English pressing. And so that was so funny. And she became a regular a friend and artistic partner. And I think we're liable. I don't say that artists are not liable, but we're not picking an artist to drop it the next year.
Yeah.
We may sometimes stop doing stuff for a year or two because we have our different phase. But if I get a phone call or an email from someone who tells me, I need to do a song, can you help me? I always say yes, because you create a family in a way with all the artists you meet. And my pride is that the studio we work with for about 10 years is now using some of the singers we've been introducing to them for other projects.
That's awesome.
And what I love is when someone meets in a project a musician, a saxo player, or whatever, makes them feel, wow, it's great. I really want them to keep collaborating outside of any Bart&Baker project.
Yeah.
And that's the way we are. I mean, we like to connect people together, and I like to be introduced to someone. Some artists introduce me to some people who now play for me for the sessions and the ones the artist was involved with us. And we're super happy that we were introduced to some new talents. So
that's awesome.
We even work with a singer who used to work with Amy Winehouse. I see the album on behind of you.
Oh, you worked with someone who worked with her?
Yeah. He used to be playing trombone for her.
Really?
And he survived.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now,
it's called Ashley Slater.
That's amazing. Now, how, when you go about making music, how do you find your inspiration when you create a new song? Where do you find your inspiration?
I think we really work as a team. I mean, as artists and as DJ, we never play a song that one of us doesn't like.
That's awesome.
So it may take more time, but we pick out our tracks together, and usually a track begins by a conversation. You want to know the creating process, right?
Yeah.
So I think first we have a kind of we have a guideline that we like to write music about the impact of the modern world to people. That's one of the routine we have. A lot of our tracks we have Stop Googling Me. Our first track was Communications. That was a track from the 20s talking about the impact of telephone and telegraph into the modern world. We try to find topic that question us about the modern world impacting our day-to-day life. In a way, it's like the steampunk movement, people who were fascinated by the industrial revolution of last century.
Yeah.
We try to have a cynical and funny view of all those new technologies and new social rules. Like we have we did a song called "It's in Her Ears." Actually, that was quite famous on TikTok for a short moment.
Nice.
Because we went to see a concert of a band called Scott Bradley and Postmodern Jukebox. They were well known on YouTube because they cover a lot of pop song into jazz.
Yes.
And there was this very famous singer. She was playing tuba or trombone as one woman, and the MC was on the stage and said, "Gosh, what is your secret?" And she said, "It's in the heels."
It's in the heels.
We thought the answer was so funny that we thought we're gonna make a song about that. We're gonna talk about the woman and man equality by the heels, and then we wrote the song. So it usually starts with a discussion we have about something we found funny. We found ideas like in a TV show, like in if you know Treme, the HBO series, which happened in New Orleans. It's about the jazz musician in New Orleans.
Yeah.
There was a scene when one of the DJ from the New Orleans radio get a technical interruption during a program, and he says, "Oh, dead air," which is a technical term when the transmission is interrupted and you have no music, nothing happened, it's silent. And we took the words and we thought, why not making dead air this moment when you are in a situation with people and everybody gets very nervous because something happened and nobody dares to talk and to speak, and everybody is looking at each other with fear in the eyes. And actually, we leave this situation by popping into someone in an apartment, unattended, and we just interrupted a very intense scene in the apartment. And then we thought, oh, we should not be here. And we felt this dead air situation. And so we wrote a song about it. But basically, it would be difficult to write a song about something we're not feeling or something we've not experiencing. And that's why we have so many performers, because sometimes I write a song for a woman, sometimes I write a song for a young man. Is why we have so many personages into our universe, because we pick ideas from so many layers and so many backgrounds that sometimes they fit some people into our catalog of performers and sometimes they're not.
It's so interesting. Well, it's interesting because, it reminds me of something that my wife talks about. She often feels she loves jazz. She loves electro swing. She loves swing. But it's interesting because here in Vietnam, people don't understand that type of music. And so she feels like whenever we listen to something, she's like, I was born in the wrong time. I was born in the wrong place. And so there's this idea of like, she always wishes that she could almost go back in time to the 20s and live and that she finds inspiration in this idea of being understood.
And it's interesting that you say that, because the reason why we write about modern issues in retro electronic style is because even if it's nice to feel that we want to be back to the 20s and 30s, a lot of things in the 20s and 30s were not so nice.
Were really bad.
Regarding women, regarding Black. Gender, regarding... I think in a perfect world, we like to pick some stuff from the Art Deco and let some other stuff down because they were not that fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you see
I don't
exactly
think the
what we mean.
20s they didn't even have penicillin yet. There were no antibiotics. It was a very different time. We're so surrounded by opinions. People talking about, they're talking about, let's talk about this issue or that issue, but they forget their soul. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about having music that touches the soul, music that talks about issues, because you do it in an artistic way so that people don't react to it. They're
And the other
open
thing
to
is
it.
that I think what we can add to that is that an artist must really bring a unique voice to things, because what I
Yes.
really learned by spending more than 12 years with Baker into this music community is that you feel pressure from the outside people that they want you to be formatted to do a kind of music that the majority is supposed to like.
Yes.
But what we learn is that it doesn't really work that way.
No.
I can give you an example. We really wanted to do a remix version of the Can Can song from
Yes.
the dance from
French
the Moulin
Cancan.
Rouge in Paris, which is
I
a very
listened to it
well-known
today. I listened to it.
dancing music from France.
Hmm.
And I can tell you, the whole label company behind us, they didn't like the idea. They said it's kitschy, it's completely stupid. You wasting time with that. Said no, we want to do it. We released the track, and I can tell you, the month after, there was 2 million streams on it. Why did it get so many attention? Because the Euro football saucer was set up in Paris, and the music that opened the ceremony with billions of euros was the Cancan music. And I suppose I remember David Guetta, the French DJ.
Yeah.
He had made a very poor beat version of the Cancan, not our version.
Yeah.
And I think because this music was only done for the opening show and wasn't on any stream platform, people went on Shazam, and the closest version they could find was our version. And it made 2 million the first month, 1,500,000 the second, but it was a huge success for us. And
That's
I can
awesome.
even tell you another story.
Yeah, I'd love to.
2 years ago, when the fireworks were shot in Paris on the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
For Bastille Day.
For Bastille Day, the big fireworks on the Eiffel Tower.
Yes.
Someone picked the Cancan remix to put it on the show. So
We're very proud.
That's
I'm
awesome.
waiting for someone to come to me and tell me, I know exactly what kind of music you should make, guys, because there's absolutely no recipe to that.
It's interesting too, because my wife.
That's the story of our Cancan.
Well, that's an amazing story. My wife deals with that as well. That people tell her, we want you should be doing this. You should. They always tell artists, you should be doing this, but it doesn't feed her soul.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna say her, she's been really challenged, because she looks at to have a career in Vietnam, they want you to sing this, but to feed her soul, she wants to sing this. And for artists are often placed in this position of what is going to.
Sean, this is the story of Aretha Franklin. Yeah.
Really? Tell me more. I don't
I've
know.
seen the movie Respect the other day, and what I didn't really know, Aretha Franklin,
Mm-hmm.
the first years of her life, father who was a pastor signed her to Columbia, and she made 7 albums with only music that were picked for her without a real consentment.
Yeah.
And finally, she met another producer, Jerry Wexler, which is very well known.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, she was able to pick songs for her. She had her own band. She had people writing songs for her. And that's how her career took off, because she had respect. She had a lot of good songs. And before, she tried to sing things, but she didn't have any real inner soul, even if it was the songs were great, it wasn't a choice. So I can really relate to the idea that you really need to listen to your art. I mean, as an artist, you are prepared to take every risk and maybe to just fail, but at least you have tried.
Exactly.
You know,
and that's the thing. Like, I think that we as a society are conditioned to not try, to play it safe, to go for the safe career, to go for the safe job, to go for the safe whatever it is in life. But great things, truly great things, only happen when you try things that are crazy or that are deemed impossible. You know, you can't do that. Then you do it.
You're talking about Bart&Baker, because I told this story the other day to someone. I said, can you imagine in a month we are playing for a billionaire person for a private party? 1 week after we play for a free festival with children and families, and the third week we're gonna play at Tomorrowland for thousands of young people. I mean, we feel so grateful and so happy that we have the chance of being able to go through so many different events, because we are never worn or frustrated or unhappy. One thing that is very specific to Bart&Baker is that we have friends who are artist managers. I mean, some have tried to look after us, but they know we are not the best artists to look after, because we're not young in the crowd. No record company would sign us because we are not the average age of a starting artist. And every opportunity we get for performing comes by email. Even when the Manhattan Transfer contacted us because they really wanted to collaborate with us, it happened a few years ago through Facebook. Then one of the members of the Manhattan Transfer sent us another email because he wanted us to do a remix from a song, actually called Swing Balboa, that same Balboa we talk about. And every opportunity came through email, from social network, because we don't even have someone to look after us to tour and to get dates. We just get potluck proposal from all kind of channels, and I think we're very happy and excited about it. You know, it doesn't look a career plan, but it's so much exciting to not knowing what's going to happen the next day.
Well, and there's something that you talked about that I love. I love the fact that you guys are not the age of most DJs. You are not, producers. People have this idea of a guy who's 25 and he's making, but it's amazing that you are still chasing your dreams. You're living it. Who cares how old you are? Who cares? It's
and you can still be dazzled. I mean, last week we spent a week with a young girl DJ from Manchester. Her dream was to spend a week in the studio with us to produce a house track. And if you've been looking at the charts recently, there's a song by a Australian core called Love Tonight.
Yeah.
That is top 10 all over the world. It's a kind of gospel house track with a core of people saying, I think people have named it the lockdown anthem, because everybody used that song to say, love tonight, if you're alone, I'm going to lend you a hand, and blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
And me and together we've been traveling to New York in the late 90s when the house music movement was so big in USA. So we already knew that music because it's what house music was at the beginning, a black and gay movement with a lot of black vocal, very, very uplifting, very soul. And now we see the movement is going to be back, and my or analysis is that when people are happy and everything goes right, the music is dark, pretty rock and pretty techno.
Yeah.
But when people are desperate and they just think it's gonna be the end, all happy music and all vocal music are very strong into the charts.
Yeah.
And just to come back to the week we spent with Emma.
Yeah.
She saw my huge vinyl collection of house music, and I was so happy to let her listen to a lot of background music because some of the house music from the 1998, she wasn't even born when it was out.
Right.
and I felt like a responsibility to transmit to her that heritage.
Yeah.
And because some of the tracks are not on Spotify as well, because a lot of house music tracks are coming from small independent label that never did a deal with Spotify, and so a lot of tracks are a bit lost into the the vacuum.
Yeah, right.
So I don't even remember what I was talking about at the beginning.
But Emma écoutait ta musique.
Yeah.
Yes, but I don't remember what was the beginning of the conversation.
Well, I said that it was amazing that regardless of how old you are, you're still following your dreams. You're not letting anything stop you. And I love
Quand on a vu à New York.
Yeah, but we decided we wanted to be DJ because at the time we were going to New York very often.
Yeah.
I mean, every 2 months we were taking a flight because at the time it was cheaper than today.
For the weekend only.
we used to arrive on Friday to do record shopping because at the time there was Tower Records, there was Virgin Megastore, HMV, all into the Big Apple.
Yeah, yep.
And then we used to party on Sunday afternoon at a club in Tribeca called Body and Soul, where you could see 3 DJ already in their 40s, 50s. And when we saw they were able to blend house disco, quality house, quality disco, Philadelphia sound, and Brazilian music all in one crowd, we thought, blush, it's possible. You can really get a party where people are so understanding of music and good vibes that it's possible. And they were not young. So when we were back in Paris, we thought, okay, maybe we can try to do this. And we tried our luck.
Well, it's amazing, and you've created something that's really uniquely special.
We haven't celebrated our 100th birthday in a club.
We're making a club a party for because both of us we had 100 years.
At a certain time, we were both our age made 100, and so we made a celebration with a big cake of the 100th birthday of Bart&Baker.
That's awesome. I will. When this lockdown is done, I want to come to Paris and I want to hear you guys live. My wife and I want to come and hear you guys at the club. So much so.
Be our guest.
My wife's. Now I have a question for you. What advice would you give someone starting out in music? What advice would you give someone who's just beginning this journey?
Well, if I take our example, we've been listening to a lot of music together to actually decide what really we liked and what we were thinking we could do differently to what we already knew about the genre we wanted to go in. Mm-hmm. So to sum up, I would tell people, don't try to sound like someone who's already on the scene, because people are quickly fed up of copycat artists.
Yeah.
So probably I would advise them to find something that really can stick to their personality.
Yeah.
I can give you an example. It's a way of answering your question. We went to Japan 2 years ago, and we met a young Japanese singer who wanted to make a career in Electro Swing.
Yeah.
She wanted to speak in English in a song. Mm-hmm. And I said to her, why don't you sing in Japanese? Because from an international point of view, if you sing in English from Japan with a Japan accent, people are not going to really make a big fuss of it. But if you find lyrics in Japan that sound good and you put some electro swing background to it, this is going to be interesting.
It's very interesting.
Because I know a lot of DJ love to play music with French or Spanish lyrics in it.
Yeah.
And so she did it, and she made some critical success because people liked the way she blended good Japanese singing with electro swing.
That's awesome.
And I think she really was the closest to what she is really.
Yeah.
And Baker, I had a story about that because one of the artists he's a big fan of is a Swedish singer called Monica Zetterlund. She was very big in Sweden, but when she started, she tried to sing songs from Ella Fitzgerald or all the big jazz singers, and she went to USA where she had a bit of fame there. But she met Ella Fitzgerald in a bar, and Ella Fitzgerald told her,
how can you sing
why
this?
do you sing a song that said, is that to Miss New Orleans? You've never been to New Orleans.
Oh.
And then Monica thought about it, and when she was back in Sweden, she actually asked some local poet because they had a beatnik community like in USA at the time.
Yeah.
And they did some original lyrics that were on the Take 5 music.
Yeah.
And she created a wonderful song with some Swedish poetry and the Take 5 music background. And it became a legendary tune for the jazz community, and she was launched as a serious artist.
That's amazing.
Sorry to make a short question a long answer. But
I love long answers. I love it.
For me, it's very important that you stick to the you have to stick to the truthfulness of who you are.
I like that.
I've seen so many artists trying to change their style to please the A&R people they were meeting in record companies, and the time they had changed their music, it wasn't fashionable at all.
Yeah.
So they had to do it all again. So and they were unhappy, they were frustrated.
Yeah.
They saw they had no talent. For me, it's like for actress in a movie. If you have a bad director and you are in the wrong movie, you can be super bad.
Yeah.
But if you do exactly the type of movies that stick to your personality and which you like the story, you can be wonderful on screen.
I agree. Well, that's amazing. That was awesome. I want to say thank you guys so much for coming on tonight. I really feel inspired by your story and by these stories you've shared with me tonight. And I've been listening to your music all day and yesterday, and I'm like the music you sent me, because some of it's not online. Some of what you sent me is not online, and it's amazing. And I'm just so thankful that you guys were willing to take the
Thank
time.
you.
Yeah.
So you wanted to know about our future project.
Yes.
I think
That's what I want to know.
You wanted to know our future project, I think.
What is your future project? What are you working on next?
I think I can tell you something that is really. I think YouTube could actually help me with that one project, because we are. I told you about the Caribbean project. We had so much fun doing some Caribbean songs with a real musician and real singer, that we want to now try to explore French-speaking songs from all over the world, like in Louisiana, where around New Orleans you have the Cajun community that actually speak French in the Bayou near New Orleans. They have a lot of folk music there. Mm-hmm. You have some in French Canada from the old times.
Yeah.
You have some on the Mauritius Island as well. So I think we have started listening to music for all those different French-speaking territories.
Well,
and the project we have is to pick some very catchy tune from this volume of folk song and give them the electro swing treatment to make them some very
happy,
young audience appealing, funny dancing songs. So if some people just listen to the show and they can recommend some interesting traditional folk song from their region, with a bit of French speaking in it, it would be great to read about it. But that's the most demanding project we have so far. We have, as you know, this project. I don't know if the picture, the Chicken Chill.
Yeah.
It's been out on the platform 2 months ago. We have the remix version coming. Yeah, we have the remix version coming with only remixes from Chris Coco, who's a very, very good producer from Ibiza and one of the inventor of the Balearic sound.
Okay.
We have the second volume of Chicken Chill, who's going to come with some new tracks in it. And we have a new Electro Swing compilation for next Christmas.
That's awesome.
And it's going to be only pop covers.
Okay.
Only big pop songs covered in Electro Swing. I'm sure your life will love it.
I'm sure. Well, I want to
and you have to send me your music because
I want to introduce her to you.
With her music.
Yeah, I want to introduce you guys to my wife because she is a huge fan and would love to collaborate with you. It was one of her dreams.
Was she in the YouTube video with impressive staging with 12 dancers behind her?
Yeah. That was her. That's my wife. She is a diva. And she loves it.
We are impressed now. Now.
That was her, and that was her.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I figured that would be
sure,
most
I'm
similar.
sure we'll be in touch.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to say thank you tonight. You guys are absolutely awesome, and thank you for coming on my show.
Thank you, Sean. It's been a pleasure.
It was my pleasure.